All right, hello, my name is David Heckman. I am a music major, and I intend to teach middle and high school music, whether that be general ed music or band or choir or strings and those kinds of things. In this lesson that I've put together here, I'm kind of simulating the idea of an 8th grade advanced band. So this would be their 3rd year prior to going to high school. They'd have a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So it's an 8th grade wind ensemble. So they have trumpets, trombones, flutes, clarinets, saxophones, percussion, tubas, your kind of standard California school wind ensemble. And the objective of this is that they're going to be reading and singing, not just playing, but they're going to be reading and singing excerpts or small musical passages from appropriate grade material in unison. The next objective is they're going to do all of that, and they're going to be singing in 2 and possibly 3-part harmony, so they're not all going to be singing the same thing. They're going to be singing 2 to 3 different parts all at once. We're going to be discussing, the students and I are going to be discussing the various intervals included in each example. And I'll get to what that means in a little bit. They'll be able to perform these simple excerpts on whatever their instrument they're playing. So if they're a flute player, they'll play it on the flute. If they're playing clarinet, they'd be able to play it on a clarinet, so on and so forth. And then we'd have a discussion on the difficulties and the details involved in singing and performing each of these excerpts. So kind of a Q&A and also a reflection by each of the students to kind of go over how this all kind of went. So basically, I'm going to be talking briefly about how this all kind of flows and how this lesson works and what's involved. So here we go. Let's get started. So to prep, the students enter the classroom and they follow the procedures. These procedures will be put on the board, and they would be used to this at this point. So these procedures, I would just say, get set up, and they would know what that means. That's what a procedure would be. They would have learned that in the first week or 2 of school. And an advantage of being in the music system, the music teacher, is that typically they learn how to do this starting from when they first started to learn how to play an instrument. So they already kind of know how this is going to go. They would know to sit up their chair, their stand, get out their instrument, take their bag, put it on their seat, warm up quietly on their own, on their instrument, and they would have a packet that had already been given to them at the beginning of the semester. This is their sight singing and ear training packet. So this packet is what they would open up, and this is how we would start the lesson before we would move on to playing repertoire for whatever concerts or whatever they would be doing later down the line in the semester. So this lesson is designed as strengthening of their musicianship outside of just playing repertoire. So we're no longer just having the student only play music. They're also learning about what that music really means, how to kind of break it down into parts, how to sing it, how to sing with other students at the same time, and then take that, apply it to their instrument, and kind of look at a basic level what these intervals or the space between notes would be. So after the whole class gets prepped and set up, we would begin. So the introduction and the demonstration would be I, the instructor, would welcome the students and begin with the agenda that is written on the board. The instructor would explain the first 2 examples. I would sing and perform each. Then I would notating the various asked for intervals and identifying the composer and the style. So these excerpts are not just random musical passages that I would make up, although you could do that. They would be tied to actual musical examples. So I would use very simple things to start, obviously, for maybe grade level appropriate. In this case, since they're in 8th grade, and they've hopefully been playing an instrument for at least 2 to 3 years, we could be doing something that's a little more challenging just prior to them moving on to high school. So I would demonstrate this for them first. I would just go through exactly what I want them to do. And by now, they would probably be sick of me, because if this is the 3rd, 4th, 5th week, 6th week of the semester, they know how to do this. This is a kind of a daily warm-up exploration of sight singing and ear training. So after I did it, we'd have the whole group, whole class together, would try the next 2 examples in the packet. So we would just let them do their thing. Part of reading music is basically not having seen something before and then just doing your best. So it's important that they are able to read it and not have any instruction on how it goes. And then you talk about it afterwards. So after that, then they would break into sectionals. So they would break into their individual instrument groups. So there would be a flute group, a clarinet group, there would be a low brass group, there would be a high brass group, so on and so forth. However you want to organize that. Depending on the size of the ensemble, I'd probably want it in a group of about 10 to 15 students each at the most. Even smaller than that is fine. Even if they're working in pairs, that would be okay too. So they would break into these sectionals, and they would work on the next two excerpts as a small section. The instructor would walk around, and I would go to each section, making sure they're on task, and also ask questions and help describe any problems that they're having if they have any questions for me as well. So once that happens, then we'd come back to the whole group one more time, and we do a whole group review. So the instructor will then call the whole class back together to attempt the final excerpt together, reinforcing the method for achievement for the objectives of the lesson. So essentially, after I've demonstrated it, and then they've attempted on their own, and then they've broken into smaller groups to work with each other in groups and to ask questions and really kind of start figuring it out, and I go around and help, then we all try the last one together. After that's done is the formative assessment portion of the lesson. So the instructor will ask questions during sectionals and during the whole group review to assess how well the class achieved the objectives and what objectives need to be addressed. So to see how well they did. Did they actually do the things that were required of them? Did they actually know how to sing this? Did they sing it properly? Were they able to sing in 2 or 3 part harmony with other sections? Were they able to play it on their instrument afterwards? Did they know what the intervals were? Could they tell me who the composer was and the basic style of what they were trying to sing? So those are the kinds of things that you would have a formative assessment about. Enclosure, each section leader, so each person who is leading let's say it's the leader of the flutes, right? That would be a section leader. They would present to the class their section's summation of the differences between the composers in terms of melody and harmony, scales, structure, tempo, articulations, and style, and whatever other concepts we'd had been going over at that point. Again, we're trying to get away from just saying, here, learn how to read this one thing on your one instrument, and that's all you're going to do in band class from now on until you graduate high school. This is a more deep kind of mining of knowledge about what music is and how it functions and what are the things involved with it, and hopefully that derives meaning to them besides just learning how to play flute for 4 years. So anyway, the section leaders would present their kind of group's total experience, I suppose. And then after that, the class cleans up, and then the instructor dismisses them. Sorry, I shouldn't say not yet. And then after that, we would play repertoire. We would do our usual thing, and then the class would clean up. So that's kind of a basic overview of my lesson plan. And so a few of the key concepts that they would need to kind of go back and address the state standards that we were kind of talking about. So one of the state standards is sight reading accurately and expressively at the appropriate level of difficulty. So that's definitely something that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the sight singing ear training packet work. Sing music written in 2, 3, and 4 parts. So that's another thing that we'd be doing part of the packet. Perform on an instrument, a repertoire of instrumental literature representing various genres, styles, cultures of expression, technical accuracy, tone, quality, articulation, all this musical mumbo jumbo that you don't have to understand as a non-music person. But basically saying, can you play in a beautiful way, in a realistic way, an accurate way on an instrument? So they would be doing that as well as part of the sight singing ear training packet. And then perform music from diverse genres, cultures, and time periods. So that's the big one. Instead of just giving them random musical excerpts, we'd actually give them historical examples of excerpts. We'd actually give them a small part of Mozart's Symphony No. 40. We would actually give them a little bit of Bach or Debussy or Beethoven or so on and so forth. I mean, those are just a small kind of selection of different impactful composers that it would be great if they knew. They came in contact with while they're in school. So that's basically the lesson plan, is doing sight singing and ear training, and then also performance after that. And hopefully all of that links in and works. So thank you very much. That's it.